Hi all. Right, the progress of the last few weeks has been slow on my side, but I've dropped a lot of stuff off at other people's places to get done. The powder coating of the radiator frame and the rear end frame is done. The diffusers are now powder coated. That particular panel there is the lower radiator frame, sort of just paneling basically. So all of this is done. Obviously I powder coated the inserts for the access panels on the diffuser. Always nicely sit in there. So that's all done now, which is great. There's a few more jobs, a few more brackets that needed to be made. One minor issue with my steering rack was the fact that it's more of a racing rack, and if you look at the end of the rack, there's no piece to basically extend to put your steering gaiter on. So there's no sort of round surface to tighten the gaiter to basically put the gaiter on, because it's from a racing car. So what do you want gaiters for? So what I needed was basically a round surface, and we put a little lip on there as well, just to make it a little bit easier or a little bit harder to get on, but less easy to come off. So we needed a bracket to go over the end of the rack there. Now we already have the two mounting holes here for the rack itself, so we use those. I didn't want to compress this because obviously I want to tighten the rack up pretty fast. So basically I've turned some aluminum spacers and we've basically pushed them into what we've printed. And this now goes over the end here. Bolts go through, and eventually once it gets clamped down, that's going to sit nicely at the end of the rack. We'll put a bit of a silicone on the back face there just so try and stop some water ingress. And then there's another tab here, and we'll just put a 6mm bolt through from this side. Unfortunately, that does mean removing the rack to get the drill in there to drill it, but that's such is life. So it was one little annoying job that needed to be designed and done. This is the first part I've printed with ASA CF. So it has a softening temperature of about 105 degrees, I think, on this particular one. So basically you need to get to the boiling point of water before this thing will even soften up. So this is more designed for engine bay and parts that are going to get quite warm. I thought I'd put it in because it's behind the radiator, plus I wanted to play with some ASA. And this has the CF additive. They say it's carbon fiber, but you know, realistically, it's an additive to make it slightly stronger. Strength isn't a real issue in this. Like most things I do, there's always the Mark 1. This was a bit too thick here, didn't need it, and then I realized it'd be better to have a lip on this edge. So we made this one a little thinner here, and we put this lip on and reprinted it. So these are only like, I think, 60 grams of material total use, and that's including all the supports that's all the supports that's printed. So that's one job out of the way. Second job, which is for some reason I've just never got round to, is making the mounting bracket for the Brembo calipers. And since you've got a printer and some, you know, cheap PETG filament, I thought, well, what the hell, this is light as hell. It's literally hollow. But I printed some adapters. Now this was purely just as a test fit. This was never going to take the handbrake caliper any strength. But we had our original mountings. I made these billet upright, so they kind of had dual caliper options. The other side is radial mount for an AP style caliper. This side actually was designed for lug mount Corvette 06 calipers, but which we never used. But I had to use the Corvette lug mount to adapt this to it. Now, unfortunately, they're a 14mm bolt on the original 06, which is a bit on the OTT side for just for an e-brake. So we've had to make these These are the, oops, it's orientated how it would have been. So we've only put 10mm bolts holding it. We don't need like 14mm bolts, that's ridiculous. So we've stepped it down here. So basically when we've machined the aluminum one, the CNC machined out these the other day, they basically sit in that 14mm hole. And then I've machined some aluminum spacers on this side to also basically make it so that the bolt is actually directly for a 10mm. So now that's in. One more brackets galore, and this one's assembled. We do have to make a minor adjustment to the caliper to offset it slightly that way. I think originally those calipers were designed for 30mm wide discs max. I know they fit on the rear of the Enzo and a few Ferraris before they all started to go sort of drumming disc, but these are 32mm wide rotors, so we need to shave about 1mm off this pad area here just to make sure we've got the proper clearance, because at the moment the caliper's obviously floating, but it's pretty much maxed out here of this way pushed in, so it doesn't give really any clearance here. It's on, but there's just not much clearance, so we need to machine 1mm off that pad just to make sure we've got correct clearance. Yeah, so one more bracket out the way, and yeah, now it fits. I can take the plastic one and go, thank you very much. It did its job, proved the point, should we say. Yeah, that's kind of about it. Unfortunately, I haven't made a huge amount of progress, mainly because I've been working way too much. And I've only had about 2 days off in the last, well, nearly three weeks. But the seats are at the trimmers. The steering wheel now is off at a leather expert, so they're doing that. The rear wing, what I was told, was clear coated yesterday, so they're just waiting for that to go hard, and then they'll they'll mop that. And so we now have all our powder coating back. So it's just knocking off all those silly little jobs and to try and progress the car. We also clear coated these two pieces here. I resin infused those and sanded them down. So basically they're being clear coated with the wing, as are the wing end plates itself. So yeah, sorry I haven't been in updates too much, but I've been sort of super busy at the horrible day job. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, can't fund my own joy in here all the time, unfortunately. Sorry, I do need a day job. Okay, speak to you all soon. Hopefully another update coming quicker. Now I can bolt some stuff back on.